Sefo, UCLA has a pretty talented secondary. Do you see some of your own secondary in those guys when you watch them on film?
No, I don't think I've really thought about it like that. They are some good DBs, a couple good safeties back there, and you can't take that away from them. But I don't think I've ever looked at the film and said, "Oh, that's a Cheeto right there." So there's some good players back there, but I don't think that it's anything that we should worry about because I think we've got some really good receivers as well. So it'll be a good matchup all game long.
Sefo, feel free to knock on wood if you'd like, but you haven't thrown an interception so far this year, and your only turnover being the fumble against CSU. What has allowed you, or what has, I guess, led to your better taking care of the football? Is it just a pure experience thing, or is it something that you've changed physically? Just kind of take me through that.
I think the biggest part of that, well, there's a couple things in my mind. I think experience being one of them, knowing when and where to go with the football, knowing when to pull it down and run, and knowing when to throw it away. And I think another big thing, too, is the O-line up front. Being able to sit back in the pocket and deliver more, balls to our playmakers allows you to be more comfortable, and you don't have to rush as much. So if there's a tight window, maybe you can just wait for the second one, and it makes it a lot easier on yourself. And so it comes down to decision making, as a quarterback, but also it helps, with the O-line helping up front in terms of blocking.
Sefo, last week, UCLA allowed 360 yards on the ground to Utah. Do you expect that to be a key of this game to start off and establish the run game against their defense?
It's definitely a key of ours. I think that the biggest thing is to take what they give us. We think we have a couple ideas of what they're going to want to do, and whether or not they showed it on film is irrelevant because I think that we kind of have an idea of what they're going to do due to some things that teams in the past have had success against us. And so running the ball has always been a key for us all season long, especially when you've been running the ball at a high level as we have. And so that's a key for us, but I think that overall we'll just take what the defense gives us and go out there and execute.
Obviously, eliminating turnovers is good. Are there times that you've been too cautious where maybe you could have made a play, but it was in your mind to not throw a ball because you were worried about an interception?
I don't think so. I think the biggest example of that is, would that be 2 weeks ago, whenever we played Stanford, and I missed 8 open throws. So it's not about not making the throw or trying to fit the ball in tight windows. I just think that everything's kind of flown a little bit smoother, and like I said, the O-line's done a lot better. I think the coaches have put us in better positions, and sometimes if it's not there, you're just taking the ball down running, and if you have to, switching out the route combination even after the play's been called.
Sefo, in that Stanford game, you just said you did miss 8 open throws. What do you think? Was it just not your best game, or what went into that?
It just wasn't my best game. I mean, you go ask any. Obviously, I'm not upset anymore, but obviously, in the heat of the moment, it's very frustrating because in the past that's lost us games, and that's why after the game, I don't forget what interview it was. I was just like, hats off for the defense because they really won us that game, and to be able to not play your best game and still come out on top is, for me, it's lucky, but it just kind of shows the depth of our team and how far we've come. And so it just wasn't my best game. You can go ask any quarterback if they've had an off game. So, yeah.
You've had quite a bit of time since the last time you guys played versus Stanford. So how much of the bye week did you spend critiquing the game against Stanford, and did you come up with any reasons why you and the offense struggled, at least in the passing game, and what did you do to fix it?
I think just one day is kind of all we kind of took. We go over the game, review it, look at the key coaching points and what we could have done better, and then we moved on. I think ultimately it just comes down to making plays, and because the receivers were there, and it just comes down to either waiting half a second longer and just taking the hit and getting the ball off, or straight up just making the throw. And so it's not like we're going to try and reinvent the wheel because the throws were there. It just comes down to me giving the ball to our playmakers and letting them go run.
Sefo, Thursday night you'll tie the school record for the most career starts by a quarterback. Can you talk about, does that mean anything to you and your longevity and those kind of things, or your ability to survive?
I guess that's the first time I've heard of it. You know, it's a blessing to be able to play so long in college football, and sadly, that's also the reality of it's almost over. And so I just want to focus on going out there and getting a win and trying my best to help this team get, you know, however many more wins we need this season. You know, we've got 4+ more games, but this one upcoming is the most important one, and so that's what we're going to focus on.
You're obviously focusing on UCLA this week, but as you guys approach these final 4 weeks of the regular season coming off a bye, I know Coach likes to tell you guys welcome to the fight. Does this feel like you're in like the championship rounds of a boxing match?
I definitely think so. I think being ranked is also going to give extra incentive to teams to come out there and give us their best, you know, best shot. And so each game is critically important. Each game is, like I always say, a championship game because destiny's in our hands, and each team is going to come out and try and win, especially 3 out of 4 games at home with the rest of the season. And they're just very important games, and the ability or the opportunity is before us. I think I was talking to Kenneth and a couple other guys in stretch lines a couple of days ago, and I was like, usually during this time of the year we're playing for pride, and now we've got something to play for, and it's a great feeling, and it just adds a lot more intensity to practice, a lot more focus, and just the need to go out there and succeed and show up every week.
So, a two-part question. One, are you glad in practice you're wearing a non-contact jersey when you see Jordan Carroll somehow getting through the line? And two, what, from your vantage point, what have you thought of just how he's played this year?
I'll answer it backwards. Well, if he came through in practice, he's not catching me. That's the first thing. But you know, he's done very well this year. I think the strides he's made from last season to this season is exponential, just leaps and bounds of what he's done and been able to do in the offseason. And I think I can't stress enough how much in the offseason you actually win games, you know, during the season. And he's done a lot of work in the offseason to prepare himself to be in the position that he's in. And he's just making a lot of plays. But in terms of practice, he won't catch me.
When I asked Coach the question about the last 2 times you guys have played UCLA and how frustrating those losses have been for you guys, he kind of joked that he felt UCLA probably comes into this game expecting, well, CU will find a way to screw it up again, because honestly the past years you guys have had every opportunity to win the game and haven't. When you look back on those last 2 games, do you remember those games? Do you think about those games at all this week and how close you were? Does that provide any motivation for this week, or are those in the past and you just forget about it?
I remember them vividly. I don't use it as extra motivation. I haven't thought about it like, oh, we need to finally, you know, just use it as a motivation. I think that ultimately, I think I had 2 picks a game against those guys in both games. And I think taking care of the football and scoring points, you know, I think it sounds basic and self-explanatory, but I think last year, especially when we put so many yards up against them and moving the ball up and down and basically controlling the Rose Bowl but not being able to put points up, it really hurt. And so the big thing is getting touchdowns this week, not just field goals, and putting points on the board and trying to put the game away, because I think that we've let a couple teams this year stay around, and the defense has done their job, but offensively we haven't gone out there and just, you know, put more points on the board and put them away. I think Arizona State was a great example of that, how we came out strong in the second half, had that big run by Phil, and then after that we just kind of sputtered and didn't really put any more points until the last drive where we ran the ball all the way down.
Sefo, the last few games here of your senior season, not from a team perspective, but from an individual perspective, are there any more goals you want to accomplish?
To win. I think that's the biggest and the ultimate goal. I think these last 4 games are really important for us. You know, obviously you want to, you know, take the next game as the most important, but these next 4 games are really important to be able to do something that hasn't been done in a while in terms of going to a championship game and just being able to turn the program around and leave it on a better foot. And that's my goal, is to leave it in a better spot and just to keep winning and take care of the football. I definitely want to take care of the football.